Hey, I decided that today I'm going to take today off because I work pretty much year round. Pretty much every day I put something up, even on holidays. uh, right now, the issue is that I am pretty well past the embargo point on Full Metal Furies. If there was not an embargo, then I would be treating that game like a regular content series. I'd be uploading like multiple videos a day, showing my progress and doing guides and stuff. But I actually can't do that this time. The most that I can do is I can record in advance and then just put them up on the 17th. But that's a little less than a month away. So it's kind of left me in a difficult spot right now. There's not really a whole lot coming out. It doesn't seem like too many people are interested in the Knights of Valor content, and I'm honestly at the point where the RNG's starting to get on my nerves. It's just been really difficult to get anything. I would like to hear back from the developers, or at the very least the localization studio, Games in Flames, if there's like actually some kind of issue with the way that the gear is being generated. But obviously it's the holidays right now. I have not heard back from the social media rep or community manager at all in about a week now. Guy's probably on vacation or like very limited work schedule. So I just thought I'd talk about all the crazy stuff that's happened this year. I think this has been a great year for the channel. Obviously, I've had a lot of my own personal issues. It's just been the adpocalypse. There was the whole Patreon payment change, which luckily didn't happen. They were smart enough to backpedal because a lot of people were either going to just not use the site anymore, not back people, or just even worse, make a competitor that could have easily put them under, or definitely put them in some danger. But I covered so many awesome games this year. The Tokiden 2 is probably one of my best performing games this year. I'd say that and Berseria definitely performed way better than almost everything else I covered. There were a couple games that didn't do too well. Knights of Valor actually did pretty good considering it's a free game, but I also put a lot of money in it too. So it seems like some of those videos have gotten a little bit of a resurgence because now the game is more widely available. It is available in Europe and the US PSN, so more people are looking into the content now, which is kind of weird. It's been in English for like a year, and it's not really too hard to make PlayStation accounts, but the problem is always the markup. It's been exponentially cheaper for me to use the cash shop on the US version than the Taiwanese version. There's been some duds as well. Climax Fighters did not do well. A lot of the stuff that I experimented with, like Earth's Dawn, didn't really set the channel on fire either. But sometimes I don't really expect games to perform well. Especially if I get them like months after they come out for $10. Like I'm not expecting it to like make me rich or go viral or anything. Sometimes I just play stuff just for fun. I like to show my progress, and sometimes people just like they like to know which budget games are available too, because there's money's tight for a lot of people. Steam sales especially. If you don't buy everything on release day like me, if you're not a content creator, then you tend to skip out on a lot of stuff. So this year was ridiculously packed with just games in like every genre possible. Like there's even been quite a few beat 'em ups. we had Knights of Valor got localized outside of Asia this year. There was Fight and Rage and some other stuff as well. There's been just a crazy amount of games coming out. There's Tokiden 2 came out. There's Monster Hunter World. There's Marvel, Guilty Gear Rev 2. DBFZ is just barely gonna miss this year. There's been just so much stuff coming out. So sometimes I like to just cover smaller games and smaller projects and just kind of give a little feedback on them. Keymailer and Twitter have been such a great boon for me. Patreon has really helped as well. I had too much pride in my channel. I didn't really want to ask people for help. It took a lot of coaxing. My mom called me a couple years ago and told me to make one, and I thought that no one would back me. She told me to go on Keymailer, and she told me to make a Twitter account, and I didn't want to do any of those things because I felt like it wouldn't help the channel. But here I have a press key for Full Metal Furies. I have the ability to help improve Shattered Realms. A bunch of stuff from Keymailer. A lot of those things have really helped me. Patreon has definitely helped me a lot as well. I'm close to about $100 in funding, which may not seem like a lot to most people, but it funds a lot of stuff, especially since I tend to get things on heavy discount, unless it's something that I know will, has at least a chance to perform back. Like I spent money on Climax Fighters, and that game was just a dud. It's kind of unfortunate. I think I got my $60 out of it. I've played for several hours. It's just the net code is bad. I am kind of bummed. It's definitely probably the worst purchase I made this year, but they can't all be winners. We have movie studios putting millions into making a movie, and then it bombs, and it's, if they're lucky, maybe it'll make a profit back when it's available on home video. But so it's not really a big deal. And when you compare it to that I bought the $60 game and it didn't do too well. Some of the closers content has been performing well too. So I think overall it was a good year. I've had a lot of personal stuff. I've had a lot of just doubts about my content and kind of feeling bad about it and wanting to quit. But a lot of that is just there's been a lot going on in this site. The site honestly sucks now. You see the stuff they're promoting. Like people were joking that the YouTube Rewind should be demonetized because of how bad demonetization is on here right now. I think the morale is low for pretty much everybody who's been around for a long time on this site. It's not exclusive to me. And once I sat in bed and I thought about what I'm going to do for the channel from this day forward, I realized that I'm not alone in this, and I think that Patreon and external funding methods are really helping a lot of people to continue to do this. Honestly, the ad revenue I get is usually around half of what I make from Patreon, so hopefully I can continue to make good content. Maybe if I get some more backers, I can take some more risks. I took a risk with Climax Fighters, and it was mostly a relatively calculated one because Batride War Genesis last year, that was one of my best performing games. I got a pretty significant channel boost from that, both in revenue and subscribers, and I was hoping to get the same with Climax Fighters, but the main problem is that the game doesn't really have any cutscenes. I have not finished the missions yet. There's a couple missions which is standard like co-op game fare where the AI just goes towards the whoever your ally or your partner is, and they just body them and you lose your lives right away. I haven't even really wanted to. There just hasn't been a lot of content to cover. I could do more advanced guides and stuff, but it just feels like most people aren't playing it. I'm glad that I bought the game simply because it's going to support them making a future Kamen Rider or Tokusatsu games localized, which is something we've always wanted. I think in the past year, if you're in the Toku fandom, we've gotten so many great opportunities to legally buy this stuff in English that we've never had before. I've been in the fandom, obviously I watched Ultraman and Godzilla and Power Rangers when I was a kid, but in terms of Japanese, authentic Japanese Toku, I've been around for about 15 years now. So and everybody is used to not even having the option to pay for anything, and now that we have the option to pay for stuff, a lot of people, at least some people, are being stubborn and not wanting to do it. So I'm glad that I bought it. It's definitely one of the blemishes on this channel. I consider some other blemishes how much I've talked about my depression and stuff, but it's definitely helped me. I thank people for all the support I received. So what I'd like to do now is first off, I'd like to get some feedback. If a couple people are interested in a Fight and Rage giveaway, I can go ahead and do one before the Steam sale ends. I would just need to have at least a couple responses like last time. I also need to pay off the Bizarro 4 Sumeragi giveaway before I do that. But if you guys are interested, go ahead and let me know. If I get enough people interested, then I will go ahead and do that before the sale ends, because there's honestly not much I want to get on there at all. That's kind of the problem with being a content creator, is you buy stuff right away, because obviously unless you're a really big channel, you're not really going to get that many views for covering a newer game unless you do it right away, because the competition is fierce. Now, I play a lot of niche games, so maybe in the future I can take some risks and and clear out the backlog a little bit. But there just hasn't been much on the sale that I've wanted at all. Tomorrow I'm going to check the whatever the PlayStation sale is going to be, and see if there's anything good on there. If not, then I will probably do that, but I need some feedback from you guys. I'd also like to hear what was your favorite content series or game series from this year on the channel. Obviously, I've covered a ridiculous amount of games. Some of them I didn't finish, some of them I didn't like, some of them were bombs like Climax Fighters. But I'd like to think that I provided a lot of good quality content this year. So I'm curious to see what was your favorite. Which games did you buy because of my content and stuff like that. Go ahead and give me some feedback so that I can continue to improve things for the next year. In terms of the new year, I will be doing DBFZ. If that is funded for me or not, I'll probably just buy it myself if Shikuma is not able to get it for me. I am not terribly excited for it, but I think it'll be fun to just mess around with. I had fun just playing Marvel. Obviously, Marvel was a game that didn't really perform well, but that's mostly just because I didn't really come up with any creative tech for it, and I don't really play fighting games seriously anymore. But I enjoy playing it. I still need to mess around with the new characters. I hope I'll have some fun with DBFZ as well. I had a lot of problems with Marvel simply because people just found the dirty stuff really quickly, and it kind of made it not as fun as it should have been. But I haven't really explored the new patch. I want to check out Ranked and maybe find some player matches, or maybe I'll do some events with you guys if you have it. I will be looking into getting a Switch crowdfunded in the new year. I'll have to figure out the structure and the logistics of doing that, because obviously I would need a Pro controller. I'm sure you know, if you've ever held or used a Switch, like a friend's Switch, or you've played it at Target or Best Buy or something, you know that the D-pad on that thing is like a fake D-pad. It's pretty bad for like fighting games and platformers and stuff, and they have a lot of both of those games on the console. So I had to like factor in an extra like $60 just for the controller to even really feasibly use it for a lot of the games that I'd be playing. There's a couple of things that I was looking at. Fire Emblem Warriors, I got a good chance to try that out at Target about a month ago when I was there at the mall. The game looks pretty fun. Obviously I don't care or know anything about Fire Emblem at all, but the mechanics look solid, so I'm interested in trying that. The Gunvolt Striker Pack looks pretty cool. Bayonetta 1 and 2 on Switch would be pretty awesome, simply because I do use public transportation to get around. I would probably do a port review on them, but it depends on the quality. If it's 30 FPS, then I'm probably better off just like getting a tablet that can run the first game, because I don't really like Bayonetta 2, but Bayonetta 3 is another obvious one. There's just a bunch of ports and indie games that I'd really like to cover on it. It's finally getting a lot of games. I think 2018 is going to be a really important year for the Switch, simply because a lot of the developers, both Japanese and elsewhere, are actually like starting to kick off development for new games for the Switch, simply because a lot of developers were on the fence because the Wii U was such a colossal failure. They didn't want to dump millions of dollars into a game and then just have it fail again. But since it's been a runaway success, I think we're going to see a lot of really strong Japanese output from it. Like Capcom has pretty much come out and said that they barely have anything to show right now because they were on the fence, seeing if it was worth investing money into. Because the Wii U had a pretty strong launch lineup, but unfortunately past that, Nintendo was pretty much just like carrying it on their shoulders. There wasn't really a whole lot else on there, and most people that will recommend you a list of games to play on the Wii U, or at the very least go buy a copy of and rip and play on emulator, since the Wii U never really got a significant price drop, and it has the preservation issues with the gamepad being kind of flimsy and hard to replace. Pretty much all those games are going to be first party. I think the Switch is going to be a return to form that we have not seen since the NES and SNES and GBA days, where there were a lot of really strong third party games. So I would like to do that next month. If you have some input on how I could possibly arrange that. Obviously it's a pretty huge sum of money when you factor in like the console itself, tax, and then the controller. We're looking at about $370. I don't think under any source of the imagination I will ever be able to fund that much. What's most likely going to happen is I will probably set a goal to fund like half of it, and then maybe around the time of my birthday I can pull my resources together and maybe pay off the rest myself. So let me know, give me some feedback on all those topics. I just wanted to take today off. Tomorrow is probably going to be Wild Guns Reloaded. I will try to cover some other stuff on Full Metal Furies that I can, barring the embargo, and then after that it's probably just going to be Knights of Valor. I haven't really been playing any of my other action MMOs for a couple days now, so we'll see what happens. If you have any suggestions, let me know. Peace.